Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you what my foam roll routine looks like. So, first things first, I'm going to stretch out a little bit. Now, I've just finished my workout, I'm definitely very tired, and I'm stretching to create length in the areas where I will be foam rolling. Now, the reason that I'm stretching to find this length prior to foam rolling is because I find that I can get deeper into the areas and get better healing when I stretch them prior. So for instance that is my inner upper hamstring that I'm really focusing on. And then here in the down dog, it's really just my back musculature as well as the front. I'm feeling pretty well balanced because I've had an effective warm-up and workout. And now it's just a point where I'm at a cool down phase and wanting to make sure that I recover effectively. I have found through my own experience that foam rolling allows me to recover much more quickly from exercise, and because of that, I enjoy using the practice so that I can exercise more frequently. In addition, I feel less tension in my body and I just feel less sore overall. So there's the first thing that I'll do. I start at the top of the head, moving the neck side to side, and then getting into the upper thoracic spine. Now, I'm definitely trying to be relaxed, and as you see here, I am pulling my head slightly away from my body as I move down my spine. This is to allow myself to create length as I apply pressure in between the vertebrae. Moving up and down, I find that the ascension with the foam roller as opposed to descension actually gives me a lot more of a release. Now, the descension provides more of a muscular release, but I get more of a structural reset on the way back up. So as you can see, I go back and forth quite a lot. That's also because this is a post-workout foam roll session, which has a slightly different orientation to it than a morning foam roll session or pre-workout foam roll session. Here I am getting into that area just in between my lumbar spine and my thoracic spine. Now diving more into the lumbar. Really that junction where if my core isn't braced perfectly in a deadlift or a rack pull, I get a hyperextension, hyperflexion. I don't know. I overbend it, basically, is what happens there if I'm not really bracing my ribs with my core. So I'm loosening that area because that's an area that gets very tight doing rack pulls and deadlifts, which is the workout that I did prior to this foam roll session. Working my way back up from there, because again, the ascension, I find that it works even better when I get that more full range of motion. Volume is really important here, and so is consistency. Now, to be honest, I hadn't been on the foam roller in 5 days to a week or so prior to this, and I could feel it. Now, I was definitely fairly tight. There I am working out the sacrum and then finishing out the spine. So I always start with the spine, and sometimes I'll also finish with the spine, depending on when during the day I'm doing it and just how I feel. Yeah, just how I feel. It's very intuitive. Here I am working down the musculature from my spine now into my glute. Working on the outside of the hamstring after going from out to in on the glute. Now I go out to in on the hamstring, and then I will go out to in on the calf as well. I have found that this starting from the outside and working in when working on the posterior musculature seems to work very well for me. I don't know what it is, but it seems to work better than going interior to exterior. So then I go up the middle of the calf and then down the inside of the calf, coming over my heel and onto my foot, because that's what the musculature does. So it makes sense to match that. And also it helps avoid things like plantar fasciitis or other foot imbalances. Finding length in my spine before getting into the next one, and now diving into my left glute. Again, outside of the glute. Again, this is more of a rolling over and creating fluidity, pumping the lactic acid out, things like that, because it's post-workout. I would spend more time in certain areas if this was a more corrective practice, which I do often do. It's just that I'm feeling balanced here, so this is much more of a post-workout foam roll session to limit soreness. Again, outside of the calf, and then I'll be working my way in. I also find it really important to take the time that seems necessary, that feels necessary in the given area. So for instance, you'll see that like I'm taking more time on this left calf than I did on my right. That's because my left one felt more sore. The reason for that is because I've traditionally been right-footed. My right one is stronger, but as I've corrected my balances, my left one's having to work harder, and so it actually gets more sore. Now, I'm going to start working on the front area of my legs. So starting with the very innermost section of the quad, really right up into the groin, and then working my way down. Now, one thing that happens right here is I realize that the angle for the footage would actually be better if I turned around, so I'm going to give you a better view of what it actually looks like to work out the leg. Okay, so as I said, working on the inner part, taking it all the way down and through the knee to really help avoid any sort of knee problems. I like to make sure that my range of motion with the foam roller is complete. And coming all the way back up into the hip. Now this will hurt a lot. Like it just will. It's an area where most people are very tight and it takes time to loosen up. I am not completely loose there. I don't know if anyone ever gets like completely, I mean maybe there are some people, but so I'm working my way this time from in to out. The quads are different. For some reason I have found that in to out actually works better there as opposed to the glutes, hammies, and calves. Now I worked my way up from my knee to the base. I worked my way up from my knee, up my IT band to my hip, and then I'm coming down now from behind the IT band onto the side of the calf. This is something that's much easier to explain if I'm one-on-one with you, but I would say just watch this through a couple times and really see how I'm doing it. That's usually where most of my tension is. I've heard other people call it like the piriformis when they're doing a stretch that stretches that same area, but I don't know if I'm necessarily hitting the piriformis with the foam roller. Now after that, I hit the front of my calf or my shin, and then I move on to the next foot. Scooting back again, just to give you a little bit of a better angle, but again, starting way up in there, way up in the hip, because that's where a lot of the tension is, and then working my way down from there. Again, coming over the knee, and then working my way into the meat of the quad after getting the sort of middle groin. Now I come up the inner part of the quad, get up in the hip, and then I'm sort of coming down the middle quad at this point. It's a progression that usually takes about 4 up and downs. Seems to work pretty well. Again, very intuitive. All the way up into the hip, and then back down again, and now I'm going to come up the side, up my IT band, up into the hip, and now down the back side of that. Oh no, now this one is the one where I go up the IT band. There we are. Much slower. It's important to go, see, I thought that was too fast. It's important to go much slower when you're on the IT band or any sort of ligament as opposed to just on a muscle, because they take longer to release. And you can actually, and this is hearsay, I haven't looked this individual aspect up, but I've heard that you can injure them if going too quickly. So there I am working my way all the way back down to the foot again, and then now I'm going to go over the top of my left calf. At this point, I have adequately healed, or at least adequately foam rolled my back, starting from the top of my head down all the way to my heels, or really the base of my feet, as well as the fronts of my legs. So now I'm going to work into my side bodies. This is a foam roll technique that I don't normally see other people doing, but I really do think more people should do it. In fact, I actually get my best release from this. So it starts in the tricep, really working there to open the lat and also open the tricep and give the shoulder some fluidity. Again, like I said, I was doing rack pulls, so this part definitely gets very tight right up through there. The foam roll. Now I lean back until the shoulder blade pops in front of the foam roller, and then I roll back over it. Again, that's something that's very intuitive, not something I've learned, but not something I've read, but something I've learned through my own experience. Working into the intercostals of the rib cage from there. Again, it's pretty much right on my side, but you can also lean a little bit back and a little bit forward. Just very intuitive. Whatever feels right to you is the best way to do it. At least through my own experience, that's what I see. Obviously, I don't know. See, I lean back right there because that's a part that gets more tense for me, more towards the back side. Breathing there is very key, and just really letting yourself flop over it. I mean, this is the point where in foam rolling and in stretching, it's important to relent, and relenting is actually something that is a skill worth learning outside of just working on your body. And I think that getting better at it with your body mirrors in your own life. But that's something I need to work more on in my own life before I can explain that more thoroughly. So now I'm getting into the left side, more on the back side here. I find that my right tricep actually gets a little tighter, so I worked into that a bit more. But now working into this left lat, again, slowly. It's important to be on a floor surface that you can actually glide on. So, like, I'm not on the floor surface that the rec center actually wants me to be on, but I can't glide on the other one, so they're just going to have to deal with it. Here I am working. That's right about at the base of the rib cage there. I find a lot of tension there. It's shocking how much tension there is right at the threshold of the rib cage to the abdominals. Again, leaning back now as I get more into the general lumbar area because that part definitely gets very tight after a rack pull session. And now on to what I believe is the final part, which is the frontal area. Again, most people don't foam roll this, but I don't know why you would only foam roll the backside of your body. So I start here working on my shoulders and my biceps and things like that. Working the front musculature, the, I guess, kind of pec minor, kind of pec major, also intercostals. Now, these rotations will hurt. Oh my God, the first time I found out about doing these, just for my own, just trying things out, I literally thought I was breaking my ribs. But it turns out that it actually loosens a lot of tension, and I can breathe a lot better after doing it. So it's an inhale as you twist, and then an exhale as you come back to the middle. And man, will you find some release in there. It is very difficult at first, and I highly recommend spending some time and using the softest foam roller you can find. But once you start to get in there more often, you'll find you can actually notice that, like, when you haven't done it enough. Now I'm moving from the rib cage into the abdominals. Now, this abdominal foam roll technique is something I've learned from Elliot Hulse. It helps a lot with digestion and absorption because I'm actually tracking the path that my food will take through my gut. At the same time, because of peristalsis, that's where my gut musculature is exercising and moving, and therefore where it needs to be loosened as well. Now I'm working up the ascending colon from the right side. Colon goes up the right, across right to left, and then down the left. Working my way up. And I'll get a twang there sometimes in my ribs, like right as I get there, where it feels like someone's punching me in the gut. Just breathing through it is what I find is the best release. Worked my way across, and now heading down. Now, the goal here is definitely just finding the spot that feels like it really needs to release, and then relaxing there and letting it breathe. It's really important to get out of your head and allow your consciousness to drop down into your body during your foam roll session. Very meditative practice. I am now fully rooted, fully grounded, engaging my parasympathetic nervous system. I'm relaxed. I'm healing. I've had a protein shake just prior to this. And now I'm making some gains. Maybe. I don't know. I definitely feel more balanced. So thanks so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. All in all, I do this foam roll session, I'd say about 3 times a week when I'm good about it, and once a week when I'm not.